sends its people, they're not sending the best. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, and they're rapists. Words by yours truly, Donald Trump. Being Latino in America means constantly having to prove yourself because of the negativity that has been embedded on our race. I'm a firm believer that in order to eliminate tensions between races, we need to be more educated about each and every one of them. We need to discuss the challenges and stereotypes that come with being Hispanic in America, while then learning on how to diminish that negativity by learning about La Cultura Mexicana and every one of its elements, and using references from our book, Dreaming in Cuban, in hopes of signaling social change. What automatically pops into your head when you hear the word Hispanic? Is it rapist, gang member, or illegal immigrant? Whatever it may be, we're defined as a whole for the actions of few. We're generalized and refuse to be thought of anything different because of how we are portrayed by our most trustworthy media providers, who seem to think they know everything about every race. We're not perfect, but what race is? Now, because of the unacceptable actions of some Hispanics, everyone seems to think they know us. According to Jessica Vasquez and Catherine Smith in their 2017 article, Talking Back to Controlling Images, stereotypes aim to manipulate, subdue, and dominate oppressed racial groups, which in return instructs people on how to treat and perceive others. When immigrants come to America, they expect to be welcomed. I mean, it is the land of the free, correct? Yet many of them find themselves in spaces of non-existence, where they remain invisible. Growing up, I came across several undocumented workers who worked countless hours, only to send the majority of their money back home to their families, leaving themselves with enough to survive until their next paycheck. Not to mention that some of them didn't even receive the minimum wage because they are illegal, and they couldn't take that to court because they'd be incriminating themselves for being in a country illegally. Everyday acts are filled with fear of deportation, fear of having to cross the Rio Grande again with only a 50-50 chance of survival. Although the fear will always be there, many adapt well to the American life. As we see on page 73 in our book Dreaming in Cuban, Lourdes considers herself lucky. Immigration has redefined her and she is grateful, as many immigrants are. But we also learn that Lourdes escapes Cuba to come to America because of the horrifying things that happened to her, just as many immigrants come to America to escape the horrifying things that happened to them back in Mexico. Just like there are dangerous areas in the US, there are also dangerous areas in Mexico that several people attempt to escape from for their safety or for the safety of their family. As mentioned before, several immigrants come to America for safety. We learn on page 72 that Lourdes was raped, and I quote, "When he finished, the soldier lifted the knife and began to scratch Lourdes' belly with great concentration." Now, let's not assume that every immigrant that comes to America is a rapist. People are very quick to judge and assume that a facial scar is gang-related. I'm pretty sure you've all heard of El Chapo Guzman. El Chapo Guzman is the largest cocaine dealer in the world, and he came from Sinaloa, Mexico. Now, let's not assume that every person that comes here is going to be like him. People significantly judge us for being something that we're not simply because of the way we look. As stated by Lourdes Macia in her 2016 article of experience of discriminating in an emergent Latino community, inequality creates a burden of action for those at the bottom, which can be perceived as heavier than the expectations from the rest of the community. Jessica Vasquez and Catherine Smith in their 2017 article of Talking Back to Controlling Images state, by stereotyping Hispanics, people are constraining our opportunities, self-images, and futures. By developing a sense of familiarity with one's culture, one is more prone to be accepting. Learning the Mexican culture is a great start to racial acceptance. According to the CIA Fact Book, in 2016, 123 million resided in Mexico, making it the 12th most populous country in the world. Mexico is filled with beautiful, beautiful places, such as Chihuahua, Jalisco, Sinaloa, Guanajuato, Veracruz, and Guerrero. The Federal District of Mexico is La Ciudad de Mexico, which translates to in English as Mexico City. Our Mexico City is like your Washington, D.C. There are many attributes that make Mexico especially unique. A deeper look into this culture will change your mind about what you view as truthful next time you turn on your television. There is no doubt that her language is romantic. As we see in the book Dreaming in Cuban, Celia starts several of her letters with mi amor, mi querido, mi Gustavo, which translates in English as my love, my dear, my Gustavo. According to the CIA Fact Book in 2016, 92.7% of people that live in Mexico speak Spanish. The other 7.3% speak indigenous languages such as Mayan and Nahuatl. Every Mexican state is different, just like every Hispanic. According to the CIA Fact Book, 82% identify as Catholics. Every time we make any sort of plans, we always end it with si Dios quiere, which translates in English as if it be God's will. Every year we always do an annual jog, which is called La Carrera Guadalupana. This jog is, you start from my hometown and you jog all the way to Mexico City, which is approximately 24 hours. However, we do this in honor of the Virgin Mary. We revolve greatly around our religion, and we honor her very, very much so. As we see in our book, Dreaming in Cuban, Felicia is very attached to her Santeria religion. We see her struggles with a syphilis that was given to her by her ex-husband and the crazy deaths of her current husband and even the relationship with her children. However, the devotion with her religion transforms her into a new person. As stated on page 86 by her best friend Herminia, our rituals healed her, made her believe again. Just like Santeria healed Felicia, Catholicism heals us. The Mexican culture includes all kinds of values and traditions. According to Kim Zimmerman in her article Customs and Tradition, she states family is a big aspect and is always conscious of responsibilities to immediate and extended families along with friends. We see Celia conscious of her family, and she cares deeply for Pilar, for Lourdes, for Felicia, and all her grandchildren. Although we do see a bumpy road between her and Lourdes, love always unites, and we find this mostly in Jorge's confession to Lourdes, when he confesses to her that he is responsible for the way her mother acted. We also love hosting large parties. As you can tell, we are widely known for our quinceañera parties, which is the transformation of a child to a lady. You spend as much money on a quinceañera as you do on a wedding. Food is also a huge element in the Mexican culture. Nothing compares to true Mexican food. Homemade tortillas, tacos, enchiladas are to die for. According to Customs and Tradition, written by Kim Zimmerman in 2017, avocados, pumpkins, and chocolates are all items that originated in Mexico that are now sold worldwide. Let's not forget about the desserts. Flan, sopapillas, pastel de tres leches are my favorite, and we see Lourdes' love for desserts in Dreaming in Cuban as well. She's portrayed as someone who loves desserts. How can she not? She owns her own bakery. She's surrounded by them. The Mexican arts are truly impeccable in Mexico. We're known for our music, especially for the mariachi, which originated in beautiful Jalisco, according to Zimmerman. And mariachi is a group of musicians who play violins, trumps, guitars, and several other instruments. We are also, Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera are also Mexico's most famous artists, who are known for the use of vibrant colors and depictions of life in Mexico, as stated in Zimmerman's Customs and Traditions. Fashion is mostly influenced by international trade, by international trends, as we see in Zimmerman's Customs and Traditions. A huipil is a traditional woman's clothing, and it's a sleeveless tunic-like dress. A sarape is a large blanket cape, which is the traditional men clothing. Men usually wear cowboy boots and sombreros as their casual attire. On special occasions, the groom will usually wear a charro outfit instead of a tuxedo for his wedding. If you don't know what a charro outfit is, just look at a mariachi. it's exactly what they wear. Not only are we famous for huapil, sarapes, sombreros, but also our chanclas. Chanclas are worn by men, women, and children daily, but especially when they are hard at work. We also celebrate some unique holidays. For example, the Day of the Dead is celebrated on November 2nd. Cemeteries are decorated with flowers and papel picado. People make altars for their deceased loved ones, which includes a picture, food, flowers, and candles. We also celebrate Independence Day and Cinco de Mayo. Independence Day is separation from Spain on September 16 of 1810. And Cinco de Mayo is a Mexican military win over the French in 1862, which shockingly is more celebrated in the US than it is in Mexico. In Dreaming in Cuban, we see magical realism, which is reality to the Mexican culture. And I quote on page 5 of Dreaming in Cuban, "Her husband emerges from the light and comes towards her, taller than the palms, walking on water in his white summer suit and Panama hat." This is completely normal to us. Walking on water might seem completely strange to you, but this is nothing out of the ordinary for us. Just like deceased Jorge in Dreaming in Cuban guides Lourdes in her everyday life, many of our ancestors guide us as well. Spirits are known for the great influence they have over us and over our decisions. Just as we see with the Day of the Dead, Mexicans believe deceased loved ones come to visit them between October 31st and November 2nd, according to Araceli Hernandez in her article, Dia de los Muertos, which was published in 2011. In conclusion, several astounding elements make the Mexican culture truly breathtaking. However, stereotypes and negativity make it hard for people to want to get to know us. As I stated before, educating ourselves eliminates tensions created by the media and society. I explained the stereotypes and negativity behind my race, while providing an in-depth picture of La Cultura Mexicana. By doing this, I am hoping that social change will occur.